There we go. That's better. Yay! Good morning, everybody. Here's Leigh-Ann Mole. Look at her in all her glory. Morning.
I wasn't sure whether to join after that introduction.
You liked it? A little
I
bit of
almost left the room.
a little bit of a cough to start your day, right? Like a cough, but also a splutter and a choke and all of that stuff at once. You know, you have to really throw yourself into it. You have to be proud of the revolting bodily noises that you're capable of at this time in the morning.
Like I said to you once, how a really wealthy English person sneezes.
How was your weekend?
Oh, good, thanks. I am house sitting my brothers. So
no, very nice. I can see. Oh, the dog.
A whiny spaniel in the background.
Oh, shame. Look at the tail going, man. Oh,
Billy.
Very nice.
So
I
hear any of that,
I don't know.
You know why.
I'm gonna be honest with you. There we go. There's a bit of whiny spaniel. I don't know why people would choose. Like I'm not talking about people who don't have the option, but people who choose not to have animals, choose not to have pets. I always find them a bit suspicious. You know. I hate to be too judgy about this. Look, obviously, if you live in a place where you can't have pets, or it's not your kind of family or tradition or culture, or you just have no connection to them, then that's totally different. But people who choose to actively not want animals, I mean, it's the same to me as someone who, for example, really hates children. I've never understood that either, because I don't have any problem with kids. In fact, seeing happy children is like one of the things, I think, famously Nelson Mandela said that was the thing he missed the most in prison, was the sound of children. I just wonder, like, without animals, you really have to be a heartless, miserable son of a bitch. If you also don't have animals or children, chances are you're just a misery. I mean, 90% certainty. What do you think?
Unless you have this sort of thriving career as an Olympic gymnast or something like that keeps you training in Russia and you're never at home.
No, but again, like that group of people falls into that category. I've already said they're excluded. They don't have to. We're not talking about them.
Okay, so we're talking about people who spend a lot of time at home.
Yeah,
and probably stare at a wall for the whole weekend instead of taking their dog for a walk.
Yeah, and they quite enjoy I like being miserable on my own all the time. Don't want dogs, don't want children, don't want friends, don't want any. Like just grumpy, sad, miserable people. No?
Yeah.
Maybe
I get it.
I've got this idea in my head that somehow those people are the worst ones. That's all. Right?
Oh, I tell you what, I must have been really psychologically affected by the Jeffrey Dahmer documentary series.
Oh yeah,
he didn't have pets, but he kept body parts.
Yeah, you see, yeah, and be very wary, as they taught us in the movie Snatch. Be very suspicious of a man who keeps a pig farm, especially a small-scale pig farm, because chances are he's not just using it for the pork. He's using it to dispose of human body parts or something worse. Anyway, how are things with you? I mean, we haven't actually had a catch up because I had so many guests on this show for such a long time. And last week we had Craig Urbani. Did you hear, by the way, that our discussion of tertiary education became like the biggest headline across the country and all the mainstream media? Yeah. We were talking about how
in a good way.
No, of course not. Anything with me involved, it's bound. Yeah, so it was like, Gareth Cliff says tertiary education shouldn't be paid for, and student, just like completely and utterly quoting me out of context stuff. But I'm used to that. That's not so bad. I kind of know how that works. But we were having such a nice, fun, interesting, friendly conversation and saying, it's not such a good idea to destroy property, for example, vandalism, that sort of
Yes.
thing.
I mean, I
Yeah.
I was on that chat.
Yeah. And then suddenly we were the worst people ever. Well, I was. You don't have to worry.
No, I never do. You always get the blame. I can do what I want.
Ricky says, IOL's a joke. I've unfollowed them. Yeah, it was them among others. But anyway, don't worry, Leigh-Ann, says Ancient Ether. Gareth's the bad guy. People still love you. Well, that's all that matters. That's I'm there to absorb all the bad energy so that Leigh-Ann only gets the good. That's my whole job.
It's like being the sister in the family relationship.
Right.
The brother will fight off the bullies and take all the blame and be the one who's punished and grounded.
Right. Exactly. That's what we are here. Big dysfunctional family. All right, so a couple of things we're going to get through, and we'll get to Dr. Hanan. As soon as he comes in, we're doing a special version of Unstuck today, because we've got a bully and the bullied both coming in. Yeah, but many years later. I mean, these guys they basically have known each other almost their whole lives, and this incredible story. I don't want to preempt it too much, rather let them tell the story. But Dr. Hanan is actually coming in to talk about their situation and how we can now observe the bully and the bullied from the same point of view. So I think it's going to be really interesting. That's coming up a little bit later on. Also, a little bit later, Amanda is going to join us. You remember Amanda? Amanda, the intern? She's going to make a turn here. And we haven't seen Amanda for a while. Yeah, so we're going to catch up on Amanda and find out where she has been and what she's been up to. So there's that going on. There's plenty to do today. We've also got the WhatsApp line open if you want to drop us a voice note, 0717836214. And, of course, the phone calls, which we've launched and people are loving. I'm getting lots of good feedback from everybody about the quality of our phone calls. So definitely smart, interesting people calling in. And all round, everybody just loves them. So that's very good news. You can call us on 083-295-5769. Yeah.
What happens to you when somebody says "What's up" instead of WhatsApp? Are you fine with it?
Well, it's like when someone says
something.
No, look, there's a part of me that just like the blood curdles slightly, and it's like when someone says espresso instead of espresso.
Yeah, the WhatsApp thing, I've tried to get over it because WhatsApp should be fine, but it's not. It's just not.
No.
People.
No. Yeah, it's no good. I just think, you just, if you've never seen it written, and I don't know how you could avoid seeing that it's WhatsApp.
Yeah, how did you get it wrong?
How do you get send me a WhatsApp?
You had to download it at some point, didn't you?
Like, what the
what the
fuck is wrong with those? Actually, now you've really pissed me off. You started. There we. What the fuck is wrong with people who can't get that right and who can't get espresso right? Why must you say espresso? Like, what is wrong with you? Do you know how to spell it right? There's no X. Ugh. Oh, all right. Well, that's gone. Now I'm feeling much better. Oh, it's like
we just need
that was
you need a little bit.
There was pent up. There was a lot of I mean,
Mm.
I thought I had a relaxing weekend, but evidently I did not. I mean,
what did
this is not good. Friday was very chilled, very relaxed, very quiet, very serene. And I really had a very happy Friday because I didn't have to come into the office. There were no meetings and things scheduled, which kind of worries me a little bit, because I like things to happen. But I had a nice day. I got a whole lot of things done that were on that to-do list that you really can't do when you're doing normal day-to-day office stuff. And then Saturday in the afternoon, I went through to a friend of mine's birthday and housewarming, which was amazing. They did like a lamb on the spit. I mean, only the richest people in the world can still do lamb on the spit, right? That's how it felt. It was bloody amazing, though. Oh, it was so good. I ate like a pig. I woke up on Sunday and I thought, Well, there are two people in this bed, but it wasn't. It was just me, so fat. That's what happened. I'm telling you, I rolled over 3 times. I was still there.
Why is the mattress leaning?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to turn my mattress. You know, they say that if you don't like turn your mattress around and you always sleep on the one side. Yeah, that you're gonna. My mattress is. After how much I ate on Saturday, I think my mattress is permanently scarred. The memory foam has got like trauma. We'll find out from Dr. Hanan if that's possible.
PTSD.
Is it possible for memory foam to actually contain trauma? And you know, like I've said to you before, Leigh-Ann, I've got to be so careful because if I get fat, I am so fucked because they will never let me forget the things I've said about fat people.
Oh, I will be that.
I'll be put in stocks in the middle of town and people will throw fruit at me. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah, more like cake, just missing your mouth, so you just can't get it.
Yes, it's eternal torment and torture. Oh, here's some good ones. This is going to upset you just as much as it will me because you're a bit of a stickler for this stuff. So cappuccino versus cappuccino. That irks Tracy. Yes, it comes in a cup, but that's not how you spell it, you morons.
No, but and Tracy, I always agree with you and with most things that you say. But the thing is, it's Italian and it's pronounced cappuccino. So
no, but you're not going to do no, don't do that.
Are you?
Because
are you saying
no? There is it's an English word too. It's not just an Italian word. We have co-opted
Do you say
it.
Do you say cappuccino?
Yes, on purpose because I don't want people to think I don't know how to spell it. Okay. I say cappuccino. What do you say? You say cappuccino? What you said a cappuccino? What do you say? Huh?
Well, do you say pizza or do you say pizza?
I don't say pizza. Who says pizza?
Well, exactly. You're going to say it the Italian way.
Nobody. What rule of pronunciation makes it pizza?
Pizza, like fizzer or
no
whiz kid or in Italian is the double Z a TZ sound.
No. We've had this discussion before. If there is an English word, and cappuccino and pizza are now also English words. They used to be just Italian words. Now they're English words. You don't go around saying, "Oh, I'm going to spend the weekend. I'm going to spend the weekend in Paris." That's hugely pretentious and makes you sound stupid. You say, "I'm going to Paris."
Cappuccino. So
what do you drink?
I'm allowed water and tea.
No, man, you must say cappuccino. All right, here's another one. Carl says macchiato. Carl says my best mate and business partner still says Pacific instead of specific. So if someone is being specific, I mean, that's just unforgivable, right? Unforgivable.
I see it a lot with, in reality TV.
Reality TV, yeah.
These reality TV where people say it's not specifically that. It's more.
Oh no, not acceptable. Completely revolting. All right, so listen, because they're here and Dr. Hanan has like a full day of having to see crazy people after this. We've got to get him on immediately. So here he is. Doctor. Why am I hearing an echo? Just do me a favor. Mute yourself on there. There we go. There we are. Is it muted now? I'll do it. I'll do it from here. There we go. All right, Doc, can you speak into that mic?
Testing.
Let me see you.
Let's try again.
There we go. Look at that.
Welcome.
You come into the studio and we mess you around for a whole 2 minutes. All right. And the Doc is here because, Leigh-Ann, today we have something very, very special. So there are two gentlemen who I had the pleasure of sitting and talking to the other day. And they have a fascinating story, which I'm going to let them kind of tell you without getting into too much of the detail because we've got a limited amount of time. And then I want Dr. Hanan to analyze this and to tell us how this is a great story of people making creating healing and doing good in the world out of something that's shit. So we're going to start off by introducing the world's worst bully. He was an absolute asshole at school. Here he is. There he is. The world's worst bully. His name is Clinton. There he is. Look at him. Just full of seething hatred and nastiness, right? And at school, you were a bastard, weren't you?
Terrible.
Yeah. You basically just took out just anger and hatred and frustration on one particular individual.
Here is right here.
Yeah, he's sitting right here.
Yeah.
And remarkably, these two have become friends. Here's the other one, Brian Schimmel, who you know. Brian Schimmel, the incredible, talented, brilliant musical composer, director, choreographer. He's all kinds of things. He's sitting here with us now. Brian, it's nice to see you again.
Thanks, Gareth.
I can't believe anyone would bully you.
I was a little weed and a little runt at school.
Were you?
Yeah.
But look at the talent that came out of that. A little bit of pressure makes diamonds. I mean, we're going to talk about this in a second, Doc. But you guys really did hate each other at school. You were mean to him, Clinton, and you were the source of so much anger and hatred in him. And then he took it out on you and really made a victim out of you.
I was the punching bag
Yeah.
because he saw things in me that he knew he was dealing with in himself. He saw things in me that he didn't want to deal with in himself, or didn't want to admit to in himself. And so it was the illusionist's trick. Don't look here, look there, and I'm going to put all the attention over there, and therefore you can't see me.
Let me just give a little bit of background, because you're not just a bully and a bullied, and the story is actually quite interesting. So Clinton is a renowned writer, artist, and activist who's lived in the US for the past 38 years. And we have common cause in the subject of free speech, which we'll get into on another day. But you and Brian, since you've kind of become friends again, or since you've patched up this ugly past of yours, bully and bullied, and this is something that I think a lot of people can relate to, right, Doc? Because everybody at some point in their life is one of the two, if not both.
Definitely.
Right.
For sure.
So how the hell did you two end up reconciling after years of this animosity?
It was really, pardon me, it was really a case of, it started with a Facebook reach out in the late 2000s when...
Who reached out to who?
He sent me a friend request.
Wow.
Which I accepted, but didn't further engage.
Okay.
Because at that time, there were friend requests coming up from all our school friends. And it was just a moment of all kinds of memories and emotions that started coming up because of that. 10 years later, a mutual friend of ours told me that he was back in the country because he'd been living in the US for over 30 years. And a mutual friend said, why don't the two of you meet and have lunch together? And I thought, okay, this is the time where I'm now an adult. I'm now old enough, enough has gone by. I can have have a conversation with him face to face and clear the air, and wherever it goes, it goes.
And what was your reaction to this? I mean, you sent the Facebook friend request. Were you trying to deliberately patch up things, going over your life thinking, where did I screw up and I want to make amends? Or was it just, oh, there's Brian Schimmel. He's a tremendously famous music guy now, and let me see if I can patch this up.
No, I didn't know that yet. Being in South Africa, being in America, I didn't realize who he had become.
Right.
And I was looking, I was just reminded, this mutual friend of ours reminded me of Brian. And when I was reminded of him, I remembered how I treated him.
What do you remember about that?
I mean, I remember just being really, I don't even know what language I can use here, but just being a real arsehole.
Yeah, you can say that.
And I mean, and it was physical, it was taunting, it was teasing, it was
name calling.
I mean, just
all right, calm down, Brian. We don't need to, I can tell there's still wounds. Name calling. Sure. Do you want to throw anything else in, Brian?
and so I was reminded, and after so many years had passed, and I didn't think that I had forgotten that I had been that person.
This is almost 40 years on, right? Yeah. And did you still feel horrible about it? Did you?
No, I felt awful about it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was for the first time I felt awful about it.
And Brian, were you not when you got that friend request, because you accepted it. I mean, which is weird because you almost want to just put that in the past and move on, right? I mean, it's amazing to me that you also, from your side, felt that there was some healing to be done.
There was, and I accepted it just because at that time there were a whole stream of Facebook friend requests from people from school years that had been coming in within a period of months, and I accepted it. But there were only one or two of that entire group that I continued engaging with. Right.
Okay, so it was just sort of going through, but you didn't feel when you saw his name come up, like, you know, palms sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy, stuff like Eminem sings about in his song.
I mean, I can be dramatic, I know, but it didn't go that far. Okay. But it did.
All right.
But it did immediately stir a whole host of stuff.
So, Doc, before we even move on to their reconciliation, I mean, how does this figure into what you probably deal with on a daily basis? There are probably people who come to see you talking about being bullied, bullying. In some ways, at least their bullying was old school. The kind of bullying that young girls, especially now, have to deal with is almost the stuff of a whole new section of psychology, because it goes home with you. It follows you on the phone. It's a personal thing in a way that once you, at least when Bryan got home from school, the bullying stopped, you know. But you hear about this story and you see the reconciliation. And before we even talk about the reconciliation, what do you make of that?
So bullying is it's a complex and really robust subject. There's no question. And it doesn't just happen between the fat little kid and the skinny kid at school. It can happen between partners. It can happen between workers, co-workers, employees, employees. It can happen between friends. It can happen on the road. You can get bullied on the road. It can happen between authorities and laymen. It can happen anywhere. It's a really robust topic. And the most important thing for me is to define exactly what it means. And the reason why is because bullying can be thrown around just like depression can. Oh, I'm so depressed. Oh, I'm so traumatized. But those are just words that really mean nothing unless you define it. And unless you define what bullying is, then anybody can just call themselves anything and play victim. And we don't want anybody in this story to play victim, because when you are a victim, then you're not empowered to do something about it. So I would suggest that before we move on to the reconciliation, and the truth is, though, in your program, I'm assuming you define it. You have to understand exactly what bullying means. And you can't just say, well, I've been bullied or I'm bullying somebody without knowing what that means.
Well, it's amazing that you two are also going around the country and you're talking at schools and you're addressing this with audiences that vary, not just schools, but people in corporate, you know, bullying situations and all kinds of other things. You really are turning this into like a story, which I think many of us can learn from. So it doesn't just become like the traditional schoolyard bully thing, right?
Gareth, just on Dr. Hanan's point, we do define it, but we've also come to define what it isn't. You know, not every insult, not every mean comment, not every single act is bullying, and we acknowledge that, like you said, depression. People sort of bandy about the term, "Oh, I'm being bullied."
Yeah.
Meantime, it's been one insult or one comment or
someone just criticizing your position.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, these days people are also so touchy about everything.
For sure.
You know, and because of social media, you get points for being a victim.
Yeah, sure.
So a lot of people like to take that mantle on. Nobody's doubting that you actually had this situation happen. And it was a different time too. I mean, you know, things have probably mellowed a little bit in terms of actual physical violence, although you still see that happen. It's rare.
But the act of violence, but the act of bullying has changed.
Okay.
It's still repetitive. It's still deliberate. It's still targeted at somebody. It's all about it's all about power, and whether it's in the workplace or the schoolyard or the sports field or the place of worship or social media or wherever, that kind of dynamic is going on all the time, just in different guises.
And even though it's different from how it was, technology is different, sure, but the motivations are the same.
Yeah.
And so, we didn't have, it wasn't as pervasive because you didn't take it home with you on your phone, and it wasn't 24/7, but the motivations haven't changed.
So explain to us what happened then once you two had become Facebook friends. Now you'd agreed to meet. How was that first meeting, and where does that even go in terms of kind of who's going to make the first move? And, it's not all, there's not going to be like rainbows and flowers and unicorns straight away. There must be a lot of shit to unpack.
I mean, for me, I think it was like meeting on a first date, on a blind date. You almost don't know what you're meeting, but in this case, the only point of reference you have is what you had 40 years ago. And we met in Morningside at a coffee shop, so it wasn't a public place. In
case he bullied you again.
In case any blood was spilled. And we talk about this in our piece, and I saw him across the room, and I literally said to him, "I remember you from your resting bitch face."
Ooh, wow. That was the first thing.
That was literally the first thing.
Those are fighting words.
But I mean, I knew that it was going to be potentially an uncomfortable situation. I knew my intention was to apologize, and I knew that I would make the first move to do that, regardless of how Bryan received it. But not in a callous way, because I mean, in terms of reading the room way, I mean, if I didn't want to re-trigger and re-traumatize, it wasn't about me just coming and saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, and I don't care how you feel. I feel great now that I feel vindicated. Cheers." So it wasn't that, but I did want an opportunity to apologize, and for forgiving myself, really.
And the thing which was amazing was that it wasn't just an apology. He gave me the space to say, this is how you made me feel. This is what happened then. It may be 40 years ago, but I still carry scars of when you did this to me, when you did that to me, when you made me feel like I was less than. And he just sat there and listened.
Well, I mean, that's almost like a bit of a masterclass there, Doc.
Yeah,
right?
Sure. Guys, how would you define bullying? What's your definition of bullying?
You have it.
I mean, bullying is something that's deliberately, firstly, it's a disproportionate abuse of power, first and foremost. And then it's something that's deliberately harmful and repetitive. I mean, those are some of the definitions, but those are the most common as far as our definitions go. And again, then we generally define it by what it's not.
And what is it not?
It's not, as I say, it's not. If every interaction that you don't like is described as bullying or get characterized as bullying, it sort of dilutes the power of what that word is, and it doesn't really offer room for redemption either, because someone's then branded a bully and deemed a bully, and it makes it much more difficult. So we look at bullying as a behavior rather than as an identity. So it's bullying behavior, not a bully, which also, again, leaves room for redemption. It leaves room that there's somewhere to go from there. Because once you're branded a bully, then you're branded a bully for life, for the most part. In our instance, we even went out once and someone said to Bryan, "Oh, I see you having lunch with your bully."
Oh, wow. Your bully, huh? That's what they called it.
And I said, no, that's not who he is now.
Okay, so Doc, this is interesting because many people tell stories about reconciliation and how they figure things out. And we are a country that is founded on the idea that you can bring together in the room people who were abused and people who were abusers, and that they can figure out the way forward. Why is it so important for that to happen? And why is it so rare that it happens? Because this is rare. You don't often see this. People who have this sort of interaction when they're young, they just don't want anything to do with each other later on in life.
Right. So, first of all, the way I would just understand the concept of bullying, every relationship, and I mentioned this before many times, is a game. There's rules to the game. There are rules between myself and my wife. There are rules between myself and my employer. There's rules between myself and my friends. There are rules between myself and my kids. And the moment the rules are very clear, then we can have, and we agree on them, then we can have a good game. Then we can play. So the game between myself and my partner, myself and my kids, myself and my employee, or my employer, we can have a good game and both enjoy the benefits of the game. The moment the one with the power in the relationship breaks those rules unilaterally or cheats without my permission, that is called bullying, because you didn't agree, I didn't agree to the change of the rules, and you unilaterally change the rules of the game, and I don't like it. Now, at that point, I can speak up, and if you continue using your power to not really care about what I think and what I want on how the rules have changed, that is bullying. And bullying, the way we reconcile, we get an equilibrium. First of all, we close that loop, because injustice is inbuilt in us. We don't like injustice. Nobody likes a taxi driver cutting us off because he broke the rules of the game. Why should I follow the rules while somebody else not? So whenever we experience a sense of injustice, there's an open loop, and the brain doesn't like an open loop, and it needs to close it. The brain needs to close that loop. So you can, for example, when you went and met Bryan, what happened? You wanted to close the loop. And by the way, that could have been another form of bullying, because at that point you did it for you. You didn't necessarily do that for Bryan. But thankfully, you were aware that Bryan needed something in that interaction too, and you allowed him to speak up. But if Bryan was not aware of the fact that he needed to actually speak up and you were giving him permission, that could have been another form of bullying. You could have gone in there, you could have spoken to Bryan, you could have said, I'm sorry for you, not necessarily for him. But the fact that you gave him the permission to speak as well and close the loop and ask questions and maybe throw a punch or two right back and get justice, that was important for Bryan as well. So reconciliation is not just important for the person that's been bullied, but it's actually important for the person that's done the bullying himself. We have to create a sense of equilibrium and justice. There's no question.
All right. So you two are doing these amazing talks all over the place. It's turned into a work. It's like your shows that you put together in effect. Because now you're going around, people are really interested in this subject, and I don't blame them. Someone in the comments, by the way, said something about, oh, well, this is a kind of depressing way to start a Monday. Here we go. Dusty knows. But I mean, I don't think that's right. I think this is quite inspiring. I don't think this is depressing.
I don't think so either. I mean,
yeah, and fuck you, Dusty Nose. We're going to come round to your house afterwards. Me and Clint. That's what we do.
Sandwiches.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to steal your sandwich and kick you in the balls.
I mean, it's the one thing is, it's one of the good things to come out of it is that we actually have become very good friends, and doing this work has provided that. And I mean, and it's been interesting work to do. People who are opinionated, who have egos and all of that we've had to put aside in order to create something meaningful from what we've done. And we've become really good friends. And that was a cherry on the top, because as you say, I mean, I needed to move forward. I needed to heal myself, forgive myself, and move forward regardless of how Bryan reacted. Of course, I wanted him to have his healing, and my apology was genuine and authentic, because you've seen so often when apologies are offered, you see some sportsman who's accused of bullying and comes out and says, "Oh well, if I offended you, I'm really sorry."
Yeah,
as if that. I mean, it doesn't even. If you put "if" in it, you may as well not even make the apology. Of course you offended the person. That's why you're having to make it. So in this instance, I needed to move forward regardless, but having him accept the apology was the cherry on the top, and then becoming friends out of it was completely unforeseen.
And just to add to your point, Hanan, one of the things that Clint has always said to me, he said he was concerned about, in meeting me and raising it all, that he was going to trigger me.
Yeah. Well, that's a reality, huh? For a lot of people, that could be the thing that happens, and that won't be good.
For sure, absolutely. I mean,
I think he was just scared you were going to write a musical, and
but I think
I was bullied at school, but I managed to win. You know, I can imagine the whole song.
Yeah, no, but then I knew that he could do that.
No, he would, and he would have written some good stuff.
But I think the fact that I showed up also said, if I was going to be triggered, I was willing to be re-triggered, or else I wouldn't have shown up.
Yeah, but I mean, that's like the young man who you were when you were bullied wouldn't have been able to make that call.
No.
You know, here's a story from Tracy, and then we'll wrap it up because I know Dr. Hanan has to go. He's got a busy day ahead. My son was severely bullied in grade 2. Turns out the bully had severe issues. Also took my son ages to point out the kid. Eventually he did, after we told him that he could be the bully's hero. Since people who bully have a broken heart, I had to speak to his level. The kid's parents were wonderful and accepting of the situation. It got the attention it needed, and the boys are friends today.
Amazing.
Yeah, nothing depressing about that.
Nothing depressing about that.
Not at all. I love that. All right, well, Doc, it's nice to have you here for the first time. I hope you'll come and visit us again in studio.
Definitely.
And this is just, you two can stick around if you don't mind, because there's lots of other stuff I want to talk to you about. And I think that, you know, this is a very inspiring story from the point of view that you can have the most horrible of interactions as a kid, and it doesn't always have to be trauma. It can be an incredible learning experience. It can be a way to elevate yourself, to get beyond things that have messed you up and that would mess anybody up, frankly. You know, when you're very young, these kinds of things, they stick.
For sure.
Listen, and it can become how you identify yourself.
For sure. Listen, life is not just, one ball of fun. It can be very difficult, which you can actually use to build you up, level up, improve yourself, develop. So it doesn't have to be, well, if you are bullied or if something happens to you that is an obstacle, it's an opportunity to grow. I'm sure, Bryan, you have grown. You've taken this opportunity. I never want to say everything happens for a reason, but there's a reason, and you can find a reason for everything. And you can find reasons to make you better due to this experience and elevate yourself due to this experience. That's what taking power back is.
All right, Doc. Well, nice to have you here. And we will continue with this next week. We've got Dr. Hanan coming in again next week. And of course, if you have a story or an issue that you need to have resolved, I mean, these guys can prove that it's doable. Even 40 years later, you can still sort these things out. Send us an email, contact@cliffcentral.com, and we will milk your story for publicity. No, I'm kidding. I mean, we'll take you seriously and help you resolve things. No, this is what we're trying to do with Unstuck. It may be someone that you're arguing with at work. It may be a marriage or a partnership or a friendship that's just not working properly. You can come and tell us about it. We want to know all about it. Come and join us on the show. Contact@cliffcentral.com. All right, Doc, nice to see you.
Nice to see you guys.
Cheers. There we go. There's Dr. Hanan, and we've got Bryan and Clinton going to stick with us a little bit later. We're going to get to the rest of the show, and we've got plenty of other stuff to talk about too. But I do want to get into this bully and bullied thing, because I think it's probably something a lot of people will be able to figure out for themselves. You know, sometimes you're not sure if you're a bully, and sometimes the people who are being bullied aren't even aware of it necessarily. They're not like turned on to it. I mean, people have sometimes said to me that, you know, I've bullied guests, for example, when they've come in. And then it would take me some time afterwards to figure out whether that's true or not. How do you know if you're a bully? I mean, Clint, this is something you could probably help us with.
I mean, in my instance, it was, I think the fact that I just instinctively knew. I knew that I was, I knew in Bryan's case, it was so obvious because it was also physical. But I mean, I was saying really unkind things and mocking him and just again, the treatment was just so unkind that it would be impossible to not know that I was bullying. It's much more difficult to understand if you're bullying or not if you are opinionated. Like even when Bryan and I have a difference of opinion in something we're doing, I have to be careful to go like, I need to express my opinion. We have to come to a compromise. We have the same goal in mind, but I can't just shove my opinion onto him from a power perspective and expect an outcome that only favors me. It doesn't work like that. And so there's sort of awareness I have to still be aware of that even today. And it's in other interactions.
It sounds like I don't want to be flippant about this. I've been flippant about a lot this morning, but it does sound like a lot of hard work. It's almost like you're tiptoeing around yourself the whole time. Do you feel that this is, or is it a growth and a learning experience, and you're enjoying integrating that into the new person that you are?
I mean,
because it does sound like it sounds tedious in some way. You're like, oh, I better not overly be too forceful about my opinion on this, because then I'm bullying again.
Let me speak to that. We were away last week on a working trip, and we had some of our most, I'm not even going to call them arguments, because they actually weren't.
Yeah,
we had some of our most heated discussions
right
around the expansion and development of our presentation, and both of us have very, very strong opinions and are both creative. So the likelihood is that when you have two people who have strong opinions in that way, they're going to disagree. But what was amazing was that it wasn't about for us. It wasn't about a tiptoe. It was like, no, I feel this. No, I think this is right. No, that. He would tell me the same thing, and then we'd go. Our thing would be not a case of what serves us as individuals. What is going to serve the peace? And I think that is the secret of when people are in some form of friendship, relationship, working relationship, whatever,
or frankly conflict. I mean,
right.
We've also got this idea that all conflict is bad.
No,
like if you're arguing passionately for one kind of interpretation and he's arguing for the other, that's good. Means that what comes out at the other end will be better. We've almost got to a point, though, with some people in the world where they don't see conflict as being anything but negative.
Yeah.
And that everything that comes from conflict has to be bad and hostile and psychologically damaging. And that's not true either.
No, absolutely not. I mean, I leveraged my ability to bully in a positive way once I, left school and grew up a little bit, and I redirected it towards people for whom the bullying in some ways was appropriate because they were bullies themselves. And so in that way, whether it was a government or the United States Navy, whatever it was,
right?
It was, okay, I know how to do this probably just as well as you, if not better than you. And I'm going to use that to my advantage. I'm going to use that to other people's advantage, to people who are being disadvantaged. So it wasn't as if that, and I know woke is used as a pejorative at the moment.
No.
And which I don't think it is, by the way. I think just being aware of your privilege and things like that isn't a bad thing. But I think that there's this fear of saying the wrong thing. There's this fear of saying something politically correct. There's this fear of saying something that someone's going to perceive as being bullying or unkind or whatever. And so
I have no idea. I'm really genuinely no. I'm not being sarcastic and flipping out. I do not know what that must feel like to be concerned with other people's feelings the whole fucking time. It must be tiring. I mean, Bryan, I've known you for a while. I know that you have this incredible creative ability, which very few people have. Do you think partly that creativity was maybe aided, abetted, that you found deeper wells of it because you were victimized, you were bullied? It kind of forced you into your own world in some ways. Or was all of that bullying a negative experience that had no positive repercussions on you? And you could quite easily have assumed the victim mantle and lived that way for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I mean, I could have. The one thing that I always knew right from being a kid was the one strength I had was always music. So if I think back to being a kid, I would avoid speaking as much as I could. I mean, because I was afraid, because I was being made fun of because of my stuttering.
Mm.
So, but I knew that the moment I got behind a piano,
You were a king.
it was like I just grew like 10 feet tall.
Yeah.
Until I was away, until I was away from it, and it was the only place that I fit in. I wasn't amongst the sports guys. I wasn't amongst any of those. So yeah, can I say that the one served the other? It's possible.
It's difficult to know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to pick up on the point which was mentioned earlier on the screen about which as we said was a positive thing and not depressing.
Mm.
A lot of our story, and we get interesting responses to this, is you always hear about the victim story.
Mm.
You never really hear about the bully story.
Yeah.
And our belief is that even in every scenario, even right now, whether it's on social media, whether it's in schools,
Yeah.
whether it's Mean Girls, whatever, every person who exhibits bullying behavior, there's a reason behind it that if you get to that reason, you can reduce harm.
Isn't it also, and you guys have thought about this much more than I have, but isn't it also just normal children figuring out power relations?
Yes.
Like, obviously, when it becomes physical abuse and it's constant mental torment and emotional manipulation, that's obviously wrong. And I think everyone can see where kind of that starts to happen.
Sure.
But kids are also figuring out how far they can expand their authority, right? They obviously, when they get home, it butts up against their parents, and their parents very quickly put them in their place unless they're bad parents. And there's a little bit of give and take that's required in every relationship that you have in your life. And you learn that early on. And if you're a kid who's taking it out on other kids, it's you learning the limits of your own power. And for the kid who's taking it, it's about them also learning to stand up for themselves or not. And I think those things stay with you for most of your life, right?
Absolutely. I mean, and we talk about this as well, is that in many ways, figuring out, adolescents bully and use assertiveness in a way to calibrate who they are and how they fit in.
Mm-hmm.
And so it becomes, that's why we don't believe in a zero tolerance policy. What is the difference between bantering and bullying?
Mm-hmm.
And, figuring out whether or not you're a leader or a team player, all of those characteristics come through jostling as a kid, figuring out where you fit in and how you fit in. And many times that can manifest in bullying. And that kind of bullying, you're never going to eradicate that. And there's no point in even trying, because it's such a fundamental part of figuring out who you are. The better thing to focus on is how do you reduce the harm that can come from that, rather than trying to eradicate it.
So, I mean, this is why I've kept you to here. I want to introduce you to an absolutely horrific bully, Leigh-Ann who used to walk down the corridors of her school, and they would push other girls out of the way. How did your song go that you sang, you and those other mean girls you were at school with?
We walk straight, and you better get out the way. If you don't get out the way, we'll kick you out the way.
Nice. See, this is the kind of attitude, this is the kind of harmful attitude you took. Yeah,
that was just survival. But
I mean, you've also got. Yeah, but I mean, you've got experience of being the bully and being bullied.
I do, but mostly, it also depends very much on your personality type and how you're set up emotionally and mentally in life. Because I would often take bullying as, if I was on the receiving end, as the truth, and I would believe it. of myself, and then I would just accept it. But in many cases, I was the bully. And there are still times when I think back to a specific person that I bullied. You know, oftentimes it can be someone that you've been a friend with for so many years, and then all of a sudden someone new comes into the relationship that you have. This new person becomes your friend and wants you to be only theirs, and so turns you into bullying the ex-friend. So it's not always, you know, self-propelled and something that you do as a person by yourself. A lot of it is peer pressure, trying to fit in, again, jostling around to try and see where you are in the hierarchy. For me, it was thinking, oh my goodness, because this was a friend that I'd carried from primary school into high school. And it was me thinking, I need to grow up. This is what I need to do. I need to, you know, she is a nerd for doing these things. Yes, I used to do them with her too, but now I must grow up. I must become an adult. And so I must fall under the wings of this new person and tease her for what she was doing.
I mean, how much teasing do you think kids should be exposed to give them a bit of resilience? And where do you think it crosses? Where did it cross the line with you, Bryan? When did you go, whoa, this, and even looking back now, you might not have known it as a child, but where did you go, no, this is not acceptable? That would have been okay.
I think if I take the speech, first of all, when it's a once or twice, when it's even a third time that you're trying to battle through a word and they are either laughing at you or they're going, nah, 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 nah,
and that makes it worse, right?
Yeah.
Makes it much worse.
Because what they're seeing is they're seeing what they don't understand. And to them, it is, I mean, although it isn't, but to their eyes, it's an abnormality.
Mm-hmm.
So kids are not equipped, even in today's schools, to deal with kids who are hard of hearing, or who are stutterers, or who are mentally ill, or who have autism.
Mm-hmm.
They're not geared to know how to deal with them, and so laughing at them is its own form of I don't know how.
It's like a coping mechanism.
It is a coping mechanism. And then, you know, just what happens is it's not just a one person, it then becomes a pack mentality. And there's a group
piling on,
who pile on and go, he can't speak properly, he's kind of that, you know.
No, that's and that's also where it's like you could see classic mob mentality. Adults behave like this, by the way. It's not just kids.
Yeah. And then you know, when it's one against a mob, that is just impossible to try and come back from.
Yeah.
But to your point, there has to be room for a little bit of teasing, a little bit of and you know, bantering just sort of inherently is it's sort of a mutual making fun of each other. There's not a disproportionate power dynamic, and sometimes it does cross over. But if you're never exposed to teasing, if you're never exposed to any adversity or, as you said earlier, conflict, then you're not going to know how to deal with it in the real world.
Oh, and then it's going to be so much harder for you.
Yeah.
And you're going to perceive everything as being bullying when, as you guys said at the beginning, you haven't actually explained what it isn't. And I think there's a lot of that going on in the world today as well. There are lots of people who also very comfortable to be, in their own minds, thought of as victims, and to take only that, you know, the good side of being a victim. Well, I'm the underdog. You've got to fight for me. I'm the champion of fairness and all of that stuff. And that's not always true. That's not always the way it really is. I mean, here's Melissa, and I'd like you both to give her some advice, because this is how we're going to kind of wrap up this discussion. But Melissa says, my work bully is potentially coming back into our workplace. So, Bryan, I mean, what should Melissa do to help herself deal with this situation? If her work bully comes back, what should she do?
She should she should consider what her behavior was when he was still around, and what she did, and take ownership of how she responded and why was she a bully.
No, she
sorry, and why she was bullied.
Right.
And look at how she is behaving since, and go, was it his problem, or was it, or were both of them responsible? And she should empower herself in terms of her know-how, of her work ethic, of her work her work delivery, to ensure that the power dynamic can be the loop, as Hanan calls it, that the loop can be closed. This is an opportunity for her to also say, hey, the person who you thought I was is no longer who I am.
Wow. Okay. That's some powerful stuff. Listen, I love what you two are doing. I think this is valuable not only to school kids, but to a lot of adults who've never got to the point that you two have. And it's really good to have this conversation and to meet both sides of the argument. As you said, Bryan, you always hear from people who were bullied, but you very seldom hear from the bullies.
Sure.
And I think this is just a great example of how truly reconciliation can lead to a flowering of incredible, powerful and positive emotion, and that you can help other people deal with this stuff, like you just have Melissa with your advice. I think this is great. Thanks, guys. Good to have you here.
Thanks, Gareth.
All right. Very nice to see you both. And we will catch up, I'm sure, soon. Bryan Schimmel and Clinton Fine and Leigh-Ann Moll, the worst bully of them all. So look at her sitting there, just full of just seething. She's just seething with just hatred pouring out of every pore.
All of those kids, my gosh.
Yeah, no. Listen, I just find all of this stuff really, really interesting because it boils down to basic human relations. And we're never going to get to 100%. Like I think it was Clinton who said just now, there's never going to be a zero bullying situation. There's always going to be someone who either is overstepping the mark or someone who feels genuinely aggrieved. I suppose this is just how we figure shit out.
Yeah. And also there's never going to be a sure way of measuring it or defining it.
No. I think you know, though,
opinions will always come in.
I think you know, unless you're a psychopath, you know when you're really hurting people.
Sometimes you don't in the situation. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes something is driving you beyond being able to see the wood for the trees.
All right. Well, we're going to end on that note, and we've got lots more to come, including Amanda, who makes a cameo appearance this morning on the show. It's time to catch up with Amanda and see what she's been up to. Haven't seen Amanda for a long time on the show, so that and a whole lot more on the way. CliffCentral.com. It is Monday morning. cliffcentral.com, Monday morning. It's the 13th of March. Hey, don't forget, next Tuesday is a pubic holiday. So make sure you put that in your diary. Yeah. So short week next week for everybody. And I hear all kinds of mutterings going on about this national shutdown that the EFF have planned for the 20th, which is Monday. But I saw an interesting video from the mayor of Cape Town yesterday who said there will be no national shutdown in Cape Town. So they're proceeding business as usual, school as usual. Everything will be proceeding exactly as it would on any other day. So Cape Town not getting into that at all. All right. We've got on the line someone who we haven't spoken to on the show for a long time. She was a part of the Cliff Central family for a long while, and she was one of our interns for a bit. She also, I think a lot of people really missed her, so we decided it's about time to bring her back. Amanda K. Romberg, how the hell are you?
Hey guys, getting yourself.
Good to see you, Amanda. What's been happening? You look, yeah, we hear you loud and clear.
Sweet.
You're looking good. Where are you?
So I'm currently at work. So I thought, let me just come to work earlier, and then everything can go smoothly.
So give us a little update, because we haven't heard from you in ages. So what's been happening in the world of Amanda?
Jeez, so much has happened. I think I last saw you guys when I was 21.
Mm-hmm.
Now I feel I'm all old and stuff. 26.
So old. Amanda, you're so old. I don't know if we can even have you on the show for very much longer. It's
it's
feels like an episode. Feels like an episode of Matlock. We're gonna have to get rid of you. I mean, it's just terrible.
I'm total. I'm now a proper adult, a total different, not a hooligan anymore. It sucks.
So, I mean, you say you're 26 now, huh?
Yeah, it's crazy.
And you're at work. I mean, you've got a serious job, which is, I mean, you weren't working with us was not a serious job.
No,
and
serious.
I heard some rumors that you're feeling so old that you need to take vitamins and collagen, and you feel like you're going backwards. I mean, Leigh-Ann, this is the story of our lives, right?
Yeah, we relish in sitting back and watching young people get older.
No, so I started the collagen life. So yeah,
the collagen life, huh?
Yeah.
Are you still?
I saw a young guy in Clicks the other day picking up Osteo Ease tablets.
Oh wow!
Oh goodness!
And I was like, wow, maybe he isn't that young anymore.
Well, I mean, if he looks younger than he is and he's taking Osteo Ease, maybe we should all get on it. But Amanda, are you still on the East Rand?
I'm actually deep east now. What appears in my dress is Benoni now.
Oh, wow. You've moved even further to the east.
I left the Vale. I did.
All right. So what's the difference? Because I was at a housewarming party on Saturday, and I had some people there explaining to me the difference between Benoni, Brakpan, Boksburg, and Springs. And it's like a different universe. I mean, people in Benoni and Boksburg look down on people in Brakpan, and people in Brakpan look down on people in Springs. Is that about right?
It's literally the same. It's the same how people in Bedfordview look down on the Edenvale people, although we literally next to each other. But yes, no. Yeah. I'm still new here, so I don't want to mess it up yet. But I'm enjoying Benoni so far. It's awesome. I moved into my own place, which is a big adult move.
Yeah. So that is a big deal. Yeah, you were staying at home, and you've moved out of your childhood home now. So being standing on your own 2 feet, this is a tough thing. This is something difficult. Now, you do your own washing, food. You have to worry about cleaning the place, which you probably didn't when you were still staying with your folks.
No, then I was lucky, but now literally people phone me and they're like, oh, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm having a wine and doing laundry. That's what I do now. It's insane how it's changed. Sometimes I get into this emotional space and I'm like, who am I? What happened to this person that used to just want to joel? Now it's laundry before the joel.
So what about the Hubblies? Because you used to smoke quite a lot of Hub back in the day.
I actually just started the other day again, a week ago. sure.
So what did you go off it for a while? I would have thought you're not
Yeah.
one of those people who migrated to vapes. Did you get into that?
I tried the vapes, but I found they're very stressful because I was doing those booze things and then to charge and to look, I can't, and I was always losing them and no. So either I smoke the Hubley or smoke nothing. Like that's
All right. So how often are we doing this Hubley thing?
So I used to be able to like know straight away what I wanted with the Hubley, and now where my work is, there's this little shop where they sell Hubley stuff. So I walked in there the other day and I was like, you know what, let me start. And I didn't know what to buy. I swear, like I just
Out of
didn't
practice.
know. Out of touch. So then I'm like, okay, cool. Let me get this flavor because this is a flavor I started on. Oh my word, then I made it and I was like coughing and now I'm back into the swing. I think I started last Tuesday again. Yeah.
So what is this song? Because I don't remember this. Sharon says, come on, Gareth, play her theme song for old time's sake. What did we have a theme song for you?
Yeah, it was like, what was that? I think it was kind of the song. No, what was it?
It's like some horrible techno or something.
Yeah, some like hectic crack and doof doof stuff. Yeah. Stuff that hurts my ears now.
All right. And relationships, Amanda, what's happening on that front?
So obviously dating's been easier and more exciting when you live in your own home.
Oh, yes.
So yeah, then it's like it's cool. It's also just hard work. Like I can't. Dating nowadays is actually horrible. There's no loyalty whatsoever. I think it's,
Well, I mean, have you found, like, because I also don't know what it must be like for a 26-year-old to be dating. I mean, what is it? Mostly on apps or do you go out and hope you're going to meet somebody? Like, where do you even meet people?
I think you go out and you hope that you like get super smashed and have the confidence to shoot your shot. Like, I think that's the only way it goes. There's no other way about it.
So in other words, nothing's changed because I think that's how dating has always been for all of human history. You have to like get some Dutch courage, go up to someone who you think is attractive and make a move.
Exactly. But then you've also got to go places, which I told you.
Yeah.
It's washing
You're
and
not
work.
doing that.
It's laundry
Yeah.
and work. That's it.
You're not going out much anymore. All right. So how about your Australian cousin? Do you remember we spoke to your Australian cousin when you were on the show? She was out there.
I do.
She was out there like behaving really badly and embarrassing the whole family. What's happened to her? Is she still going?
I think that you see via Facebook, we've all kind of grown up and gone our own ways and doing our own stuff, like I say, it's crazy how life has changed. Like it sounds dramatic, but it really is crazy. Like we see each other on Facebook, like I say, or someone posts something on Insta, but other than that, we're all doing our own things.
All right, well, we got to look at a couple of headlines. So let's get into some of this. Do you know who Costa Titch, the rapper, was? Because he collapsed on stage at Ultra and died.
So crazy.
At 28 years old. I mean, Lebang posted a video of when she had him in the studio with AKA, and now the only one left in that video that's still alive is Lebang. I mean, the other two are both gone in the space of a couple of months of each other. It's really scary, actually. A couple of weeks, not even months.
And it's so scary how people are passing away. Like when you start like getting older and reaching those ages of people passing away, it's insane. Like, I mean, that's not even.
It's not. But I mean, 28 is very young to have had what they say is probably a heart attack. But the family thanked emergency responders and all those present in his last hours. As a family, we were faced with a difficult time as we try to make sense of what has happened to us. The family thanks you for the love and support that you've given our son, and may you continue to uplift him, blah, blah, blah. It's really weird that this happened in front of everybody on stage.
It's really horrible. It's crazy.
Did you know who he was, Leigh-Ann?
No, I didn't. But I remember that my biological father died while performing on stage. And it makes me think, it's that real kind of, in his case, that rock and roll lifestyle where he died doing what he loved.
Right.
And, it may have been the same for this rapper.
Yeah.
It's rather that than being in some kind of horrible accident that leaves you incapacitated for the rest of your life, I don't know. Maybe am I being too flippant?
No, I mean, there is something to be said for, people who do what they love and then that's how they die. I mean, no one wants to die, so it's not like you can plan this, and it's not like people have the ability to design their own way of leaving the earth. But if you're going to die doing what you love, then I suppose that's better than like being in an old age home and slowly being destroyed by disease. Who knows? And rappers, for rappers, it's kind of there aren't too many ways that a rapper would want to go other than in the way that he went on stage. Perfect. I don't know. Anyway, listen to this. This is from CNN, which, we mostly take CNN seriously, but there are times where we can't trust them at all. They've put together an incredible survey, really, about flying long haul. And they've given some advice here for people who travel on long flights between continents and all the rest of it. So listen to this quickly. They say, obviously, you've got to keep yourself well hydrated. So we know that. A lot of people forget to drink water when they're on a long flight. You also have to eat slowly instead of eating fast, because they say that helps. Avoid fizzy drinks. And here are some other things. Farting. So apparently, because of the change in cabin pressure and the gas in your system reacting accordingly, you have to just be careful and think about these things. Hold it in as the plane climbs and descends. Apparently, what you need to do is take off your shoes, because that helps, not with the farting, but generally with, kind of balancing the body out.
But these are all difficult things to do. Number one, keep hydrated. That's very difficult when you're busy choosing whether you want to have a glass of champagne, vodka, or whatever else you.
Those are tough choices to make. What would you rather have?
Number two, eat slowly. Eat slowly. You've got the food gets dumped on your tray, and then she comes back a few minutes later, or he, to pick up your tray. So you're going to eat fast. And also sometimes it's pretty gross food. So you just kind of, chuck it down if you're hungry.
Wolf it down, yeah. Well,
number three, control your farts. It's very difficult to control your farts on a plane.
Yeah, and also, you've got to, if you're going to fart on a plane, people are going to know because they're sitting right next to you, and
it's a lot of pressure.
You're packed in like sardines. It's literally a lot of pressure. Any tips on how to hold it in and what the best? Do you have to get up and go to the loo?
Are you asking me?
I don't know. Maybe Amanda, do you know anything about how?
No, I'm literally. I thought we were asking Leigh-Ann, so I was listening.
I'm thinking Leigh-Ann has. I think you have some expertise in this field.
I don't think I've ever farted on a plane unless it was in my sleep. That could easily have happened. Yeah, but then taking off your shoes is another dodgy thing. I just very recently saw someone who took a photograph of someone's nasty feet that had ended up next to his seat. I follow an account on Instagram called Passenger Shaming, where they basically take photographs of people who've, like, either they stretched themselves across two seats and squeezed someone else in, or they've taken their shoes off and they've got like manky socks on with holes in them, or whatever. It's like basically people who think they're in the privacy of their own home, but actually they're exposing how gross they are to everyone on the plane. So Carl says, this is why we do this. This is useful information people need to know. He says, I always push out a fart on descent. That way it comes right up to me and I don't have to waft. Oh my God. I once got a free seat. There are toilets. Graham says, I once got a free seat because of uncontrollable farts. Well, that's one hell of a way to clear some space around you, right? And famous mama says, what doesn't pay rent must come out. But I've never farted on a plane. I think you're lying. You've just told us what doesn't pay rent must come out, and then you're saying you don't fart on a plane. I think you've got to go to the bathroom if you have any manners at all. That's the way to do this. Yes, exactly.
All right. Well, here's a story about the Germans are very, very weird. Germany is just not a. It's a strange place. They don't follow the same rules the rest of us do. Apparently, women can now swim topless in Berlin's swimming pools. So
Yes,
if you're
in
a
the
woman
public
who,
pools.
right, if you're a woman in Berlin, in the capital of Germany, and you want to swim without a top on, you're allowed to. And it's not weird in Germany at all, because the Germans don't have the issues and the attitudes towards nudity that the rest of us do. So if you're a lady and you're just tired of wearing that bikini top, here's what you can do.
Yeah, I mean, we know that that's true of a lot of beaches in Europe, and that always has been for a long time. I remember partaking in this sort of activity myself when in Portugal. I also remember a nursery school teacher pulling up to a beach in the Algarve because it was a weekday. So this van pulled up with a whole lot of kids. The nursery school teacher got out and she whipped off her top and they stood in a circle and threw the ball to each other.
Goodness, no way.
My little brother was standing on the sidelines with his jaw on the floor. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. Yeah, I mean, whatever goes in certain places, I suppose.
Well, it's typical that Germany would lead the charge here. Do you know what they call their culture of doing this? It's called Freikorps per Kultur. Freikorps per Kultur, or FKK, which has its origins in the old German Empire. Rather than sexualizing the naked human body, the movement places emphasis on the health benefits of communal open-air nudity while exercising or being in nature. So it's a whole thing.
I don't know where
if I
you
was
get the confidence
exercising-
to do that, though.
Yeah, if I was exercising,
I
I wouldn't want to be topless. That's for sure.
What about
I'd
those,
injure myself.
like those, those star jump ones with
It would be a problem. There'd be a lot of slapping about and noises that you didn't really want to hear.
and that's just the German language, not even the titties. All right. Well, I mean, these are things that are going on in the world that I think we should be proud of. It shows that we are actually moving in a very good direction. Not everything to do, not all nudity is about sex, and the Germans are figuring this out. Now, here's an interesting story, and I don't know whether you're even aware of it. I only found out about it this morning. A fleet administrator in Volkswagen was arrested in connection with fraud amounting to 12 million rand. I'm always amazed at these people who, inside a company, can steal like millions of rands, and sometimes they never find out. Sometimes they find out far, far later than they should. This guy's name was Christo de Jager. He's 59 years old. He was arrested on charges of fraud and corruption. Apparently what he did was he was part of a scam with an employee in Auto Trust who was contracted to do auto body repair work. And then they would defraud Volkswagen, and they'd keep some of the money for themselves. So he was allegedly paid on a monthly basis to orchestrate payments based on fraudulent invoices. A whistle was blown and the matter was reported to the Hawks for extensive investigation. Investigations revealed during the 8-year period of the commission of the offense, 572 fraudulent invoices were submitted and paid for,
Sure.
thus prejudicing Volkswagen for 12 million for services not rendered. He did this over a period of 8 years. I mean, you've got to admire, at least he stuck to his guns, He was like, for 8 years, for all of these counts, 12 million rand, he was doing like yeoman's work with all these fraudulent invoices.
Very committed and consistent. Those good personality traits. But I want to know whoever
conscientious.
finally found him out. Yeah. Whoever found him out after all those years needs to be employed properly by someone who can investigate the government, because there are people in government who've been doing that for way longer than 8 years.
And they can't
They're
figure it
very
out.
consistent. Yeah.
I just wonder if if you still steal 12 million rand over all those years, what do you invest that in? Did you think this guy bought property? Because for 12 million rand, you could buy a couple of houses. Maybe he put it on the stock market. Maybe he invested it in something that's lost money and now they can't get it back from him. I mean, I wonder what
Yeah,
this
like
dude was
strippers and
doing.
blow.
Yeah, like where do you put 12 million rand? And you try to hide it because you don't want to look like you are suddenly in the money. Otherwise, people are going to get suspicious. He kept this going for 8 years.
Well, there are sofas where you can
Oh,
store
good point.
your cash.
The president taught us that. Yeah, that's correct. Amanda, what would you do with 12 million rand if you were trying to hide it?
Yeah. I don't think I think I'd be like a childish person and just holiday and stuff, but like on the low, like fake a disappearance, but then just change my whole appearance and live my best life somewhere.
Spend that money. All right. Well, listen, I'm really impressed that you are, you've got your own place. You're working in this serious job. I mean, this is all very impressive, Amanda. You must come in and visit us at our new studio sometime.
No, definitely. And I wanted to find out, how's Jane?
Jane is fine. She is still in charge, very much in charge, and shouting at everybody who steps out of line. So when you come to see her, you may or may not be offered coffee, depending on how she remembers whether she likes you or not.
All
right,
awesome.
very good.
I think of Jane often. She was always a good laugh.
She still is. Amanda, keep well. We'll speak to you soon.
Sweet, guys. Enjoy your day.
Cheers, cheers. There's Amanda. Amanda K. Romberg, who was our intern for a little while. She worked here at Cliff Central. Thought we'd check in with her and find out what she's been up to. All right, so here's something. Oh, Melissa wants to know why you didn't react when I said the word suspicious.
Oh, don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious.
There wouldn't have been. Well, it's like, when Lebang brings up air fryers. It's just something we cannot get away from on this show. All right, here's something interesting from Business Tech this morning. Not great news, but something we need to be aware of. International investors have had enough of South Africa taking large sums of money out. City Press reports that over 100 billion in South African shares and bonds have been sold by international investors since the start of the year. JC Lowe, who's the CEO of DFM Global, told the publication, "This is a clear signal of investor sentiment turning for the worst. The pace at which foreign investors are disposing of our stocks and bonds seems to be accelerating." He added that there had been a massive net sale of domestic assets, which is very concerning. The net sales are basically a sign that foreign investors are voting with their feet. The power outages, the lack of reforms, infrastructure problems, all of these things have put a lot of pressure on the country and on our economy. So
it just snowballs. That's the thing. I mean, just this weekend, especially on a Sunday, if you're going to, take note, then let it be on a Sunday, because that's when it all really happens. Just driving around and seeing properties that are for sale, looking at all the boards. There's a lot of activity happening. There was nothing before. I mean, just chatting to my estate agent, as you know, selling my own home, during the process of selling my own home. During COVID, she said, her and her husband would always have a bottle of champagne when she sold a house. And that was almost, every day. And then during COVID, it was months in between any movement, obviously. Yeah. And now the activity is way up there. I don't know what the trend is, where people are going, what they're doing, but I've never seen so many homes for sale just in the surrounding suburbs as I have now.
Oh yeah, it's a buyer's market, right? I mean, there's no two ways about it.
Yeah.
That is clearly what's happening here. But it's important to pay attention to these things. And I do hope that somebody is busy talking to the politicians and just reminding them that this is all because of their stupid decision making, their lack of ability to maintain and look after anything. And I think that suddenly the chickens are coming home to roost. So I'm not surprised by this at all. We will check in with the guys from markets.com a little bit later on. In fact, we're going to have Bryan Habana back on, who is, of course, the ambassador for markets.com. We met him on our first day in our new studios not so long ago. And he's been hard at work figuring out how trading works, teaching himself, and at the same time teaching all of us, which is really, really useful. So, all right, Leigh-Ann has got, as always, on a Monday, some useful things for us. There are 8 classes that she thinks should be required for all students before they hit adulthood. We were talking last week about the state of higher education. Now, what are kids not learning that they should know that is essential for a prosperous and successful adulthood, but that we're not learning at school or university? What are these classes?
Well, one of the things that I always thought as a child as a young adult growing up was, even though I did the subject of accountancy, we still weren't taught the very basics, like how the stock market works, how investments work,
Right.
even as far as taxes and just all of that kind of financial literacy. We weren't really exposed to that. I hope things have changed now, and I think obviously if you have the opportunity of taking the subject of economics, but we didn't have that back when we were at school, right?
Not at school. No, hell no.
The
And unless you
closest
studied
had
it
was accounting.
and if you did study it at university, it was in the course of studying a degree that had to do with finance. But I think a lot of people, even if you did business economics at school, which was a subject as I recall, it wasn't actually about economics. It was more about kind of assets and liabilities and basic accounting and kind of how all of that stuff works. I think it would be very helpful for people to have that information.
And in fact, in the States, there is one state. It's the first state that has required personal finance education to graduate, and you won't believe it's Florida. So
wow.
That's
okay.
Yay, Florida! Good for Florida.
Well, good for them.
Yeah, I just think that kind of personal finance first, and then the bigger picture, and more high level economic theory. That would have been really helpful for me. Another thing that we kind of only got taught if you went to Scouts or Girl Guides or Brownies or something like that would be quite in-depth first aid. And even now, I think self-defense should be a thing as well. So, all of those sort of safety first
definitely
courses.
They should spend less time. I mean, I don't know if you did geography in high school. I didn't, but
yeah, I did.
I don't think that learning some of those things that they teach you in geography are nearly as helpful as like self-defense or first aid. It seems kind of obvious that those should be the subjects.
And like everyday things, like why you shouldn't leave a car running in a garage, for instance, or how to spot asbestos in your home, or how to avoid fires.
Well, Mareka says, how about how to navigate a four-way stop during load shedding? That should also be on there. Right.
Yeah, sure. That would be helpful. And something else, leaning a little bit more to the financial side again, is how medical aids work. I don't know about you, but I still haven't figured it all out. And then it changes every year.
Yeah. Listen, that's a whole Pandora's box. And it would be very helpful for people to know about, first of all, medical aid, second of all, insurance, third of all, having to pay rates and taxes, all of these things that have to do with money and, adulting, basically. And you learn them only when you start interacting with those products at, a stage where you've got your first job. You should at least be aware of it before it even starts happening. Don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And then a big one for me is media literacy, especially now. I mean, considering that we are bombarded with media all day, every day, it's quite a task being able to curate it in your own mind, process it.
Absolutely.
Figuring out what you want to listen to, what you don't. And then very importantly, helping you decide on what news is credible. Recognizing false news, misinformation, disinformation, all of this. We don't. If you don't be,
if people were a little bit more savvy about that stuff, then it wouldn't be so easy for the politicians and all the other crooks to lie to us.
Yeah, and for this sort of mass panic and mass reaction when things happen in the media as well, especially you think about what happened with COVID and how much false information was being circulated.
Yep.
And just the fact that circulating that information is illegal as well, and that you can get into trouble for that. I don't think a lot of young people realize that.
All right.
And then down to to the more basics for me, yet so important. Basic sociology, like human behavior, the fact that we all live in a society, we all have social connections, understanding the causes and consequences of human behavior, and also being aware of things like cults and conspiracy theories, and being able to figure out what's true and what's not and what's real.
What goes hand in hand with the media literacy stuff. I mean, especially when your head is still soft and you are hugely impressionable and you respond to things like peer pressure, it'd be really handy to have a class where people would learn what, manipulation there is waiting for everybody around the next corner once they go outside into the real world. Cults, as you say, religions, being part of some online movement which may or may not be very good. There's a lot of stuff here that can be very confusing.
Absolutely. And then the last one for me would be basic psychology, or sort of mental health maintenance. How to mitigate anxiety, how to recognize signs of these things, how to have a basic understanding of mental health disorders. I think that's really important. And I think the amount of time that we spent on like doing advanced trigonometry when these things were so much more important at the time.
100%. Well, there's some useful things that we can only hope they'll put into the curriculum, because there are a lot of things people are learning at school right now that are not useful at all after school. Not one little bit. So maybe that if there are teachers, if there are people from the Department of Basic Education, as they call it, listening, then maybe it's time to implement these things into the overall curriculum. It is time for Markets Mondays with markets.com. Now, whether you're a new trader who's looking for a safe place to start, or you're an experienced trader who is ready to do things like low spreads, multi-assets, high-tech stuff, you will find markets.com suits you perfectly. As a special offer to everybody who's listening now, you can follow the link on cliffcentral.com, register with markets.com. You will get a 30% bonus on your deposit. Now, he is widely regarded as one of the greatest sportsmen of all time, and certainly in this country, he's one of our favorite people. Bryan Habana is a world champion who holds multiple sporting accolades. He's famously known for his racing against the world's fastest land mammal. He joins us today on Markets Mondays to give us some insights into his trading journey and how he connected with markets.com. Hey, Bryan, nice to see you again, man.
Good morning, Mr. Cliff. How are you, good sir?
So good. And I just want to thank you again for that really lovely discussion we had with you the last time you were here with us, and being our inaugural guest in our new space. Nice to see you.
It's great to be back. I might have to come back to the even newer space now. That's a lot more professional with a nice Cliff Central background. We were very relaxed. We were very relaxed in the line. But yeah, it was brilliant to be there, Gareth. And hopefully I can come past in the not too distant future.
Awesome. Well, listen, let's talk a little bit about trading, because this is something that's relatively new for you. And it's something that I think all of us can benefit from, kind of, almost getting a ride alongside you as you start doing this stuff. So how did you get into trading, and what attracted you to this markets.com platform?
So, Gareth, I think firstly, as a professional athlete, you potentially get exposed to a lot of various financial platforms through financial advisors, and for most of your career you sort of leaning on the advice of others, which if you don't upskill yourself, you don't educate yourself, always becomes a little bit more challenging. And I think when I started understanding a little bit about markets, particularly in the post-transition phase, I'm sort of 4 years out of it now. So looking at various opportunities of diversifying my portfolio, but also taking that hands-on, which I think is really important. And I came across the markets.com platform, which was, I think, very simple to use, which was my first initial reaction, because I think as someone that is very amateur in it, you sort of wonder, how difficult it is. And I think for me, that was sort of the main attraction initially. And then the simplification of in-app tools, all the help and advice that you got, and their growth in South Africa. And I think that's sort of been the basis of the foundation. And again, showing people how easy it is, whether you're an amateur trader. But I think the the very intricate detail that you can potentially get into on markets.com. I think, with a couple of hundred of indices trading type environments and tools within the platform is pretty special. And hopefully growing the understanding of, firstly, how simple it is to trade, but how through educating yourself, upskilling yourself, and also diversifying your own portfolio, not having all your eggs in one basket, you could potentially have an alternative revenue stream in which you are fully controlled, which I think is really important.
All right, so let's just talk about, you mentioned the tools that you can use on this platform. So what kinds of things have you been experimenting with? Because it's nice because you can put a little bit of money in. You don't have to put your entire life savings in, and then you can play around. The best way to learn about things like hedging and investing in overseas international stocks, being able to buy crypto, whatever else it is. You've got to play with these tools. What are your favorite ones to start experimenting with on markets?
So I think the first thing that one has to mention is, obviously, I'm not a financial advisor, so at any point that you're gonna start trading, there is risk associated with, and my portfolio the last couple of weeks has experienced a rather negative loss because of global market trends around commodities. I took initially an outlook that gold is a pretty stable one, given the volatility of cryptocurrency in the moment, and you look at things like FTX and Silicon Bank that just
the Silicon Valley Bank. Wow.
So I think for me, again, I started looking at various things, and I think when you look at what do you use, and I think that's important. I buy Apple products. I consume certain goods on Netflix, on Disney Plus, and you start looking at things which I think for me, as I started learning and going on this trading journey, started looking at how I use certain elements, and because if I'm using it, surely there's growth in it, because hopefully other people will continue using it. I think that was sort of my initial starting point, and then there was a lot of advice on all the various markets.com platforms, whether it be on Instagram, on their LinkedIn pages, on their website, which really aided that. Gold for me was something where I thought it's a sure bet. The last couple of weeks has seen gold, unfortunately, go backwards in quite a drastic way. But then you look at stuff like oil. I think there's just been announced that one of the Saudi companies reported like $161 billion profit in the 2022 financial year. So as you start looking at various points, first of all, what you use, and that's sort of where I started, but then opening yourself up. I was in New York a couple of weeks ago, and standing there with a raging bull and looking how everyone is just looking at this bull, but not understanding what it was meant to be there for. The Nasdaq was there, so now all of a sudden through the markets.com platform, open yourself up to a international global trading opportunity, and understanding the markets. And then I think for me, what it's also been cool is I've upskilled myself. I've literally given myself an opportunity to learn and get better. I'm definitely going to be out there and honest. I haven't been doing extremely well. My profit loss is at the moment a very small loss, but hopefully, as things continue, there's a little bit of change towards that.
Yeah, listen, I mean, it's I've been burnt. I've made some really stupid investments. Luckily, not enormous amounts of money. But that's how you learn, Bryan. I mean, this is also where you have the experience of having been on the field and having been tackled hard. Then you know how to stay the hell out of that situation in the future, right? If you don't get a little bit hurt here and there, you keep making stupid mistakes.
You do definitely keep making stupid mistakes, and I think fool me once, it's your fault. Fool me twice, it's my fault. So I think it's in this journey that you understand, and rightly, like you said, Gareth, I wouldn't be putting all my eggs in one basket, understanding that this is potentially a diversification of your portfolio. So there's some really stable things that if you're not being able to accurately, almost daily look, and it's very much like almost people that want to trade in crypto, if you're not actively involved in understanding the crypto markets on a daily basis and almost on an hourly basis with the volatility, trading is exactly the same. So there definitely is risk to it. But as you educate yourself, as you open your understanding up, not only to the South African context, we had the budget speech a couple of weeks ago, which potentially put a dire outlook on a lot of the financial terms. Our junk status has remained. But you look globally at the markets, not much is better, in the US and the UK from, the financial economy stability perspective. So, you sort of got looking, for me, Disney Plus, they acquired Marvel, or Disney acquired Marvel, towards the end of last year. And we all know how big Marvel is. And my outlook, for instance, I think Marvel's going to grow going forward. So does that have an impact on Disney's, share price over the next couple of months? So understanding what you want to trade and why you want to trade it, getting as much information as possible to make those better decisions, because the more better decisions you make, potentially the more profitable you can become.
Yeah, I love that you actually brought up the fact that you need to know what's going on in the world, and that information, and there is so much. I mean, Leigh-Ann was saying just now, we almost should be giving people literacy courses in media. Because there's so much info out there, and you need to know what's going on in order to make the right investments, but also keep your wits about you, because things can change on the daily basis. And if you're not paying attention to those things, you can lose a huge amount of money, or you can potentially make massive profits. So we know you as a professional sportsman, and you're no stranger to talking in front of people and being on the international stage. But what has it been like for you to be doing something completely different like this, where you're an ambassador for markets.com? I mean, have you enjoyed being associated with something that people don't expect to see you associated with?
Do I enjoy it? I think it's extremely exciting and invigorating. I think, I got into the fintech space a couple of years ago, co-founding a fintech company. So trying to understand trading. I think there were elements throughout my career where I sort of dabbled in it, but I didn't really give my full attention. And now I think with the simplicity of the markets.com trading platform, the excitement of their growth, not only in South Africa, but globally as well, that's been extremely challenging, because I've almost had to step outside the box, to your point, and upskill myself in a different environment in a very short space of time. But I think for me, it's been extremely educational, understanding how, if you really do open yourself up, if you're willing to learn a little bit more, the opportunities that not only markets.com can present, but that life can present. And I mean, I didn't really understand, what was happening in the UK financial markets or in the US. And now all of a sudden diversifying your own knowledge platform, which I think is incredibly useful for any person. And like you said, Leigh-Ann says there's a lot of things you don't learn in school that is unfortunately, detrimental to your growth as a person, particularly in very volatile times. I mean, we look at SVB, Silicon Valley Bank, that had all these incredible startups and funding involved in it, and hundreds of millions of dollars have been lost recently. And you speak to the normal man on the street, if they don't understand Silicon Valley, if they don't understand all the VC raises that have happened over the last 5 to 6 years, and understand how detrimental Silicon Valley Bank going down is, potentially goes back to the Lehman Brothers back in the the latter part of 2008 and 9. So I think it is understanding. And again, that's really been refreshing for me, being able to upskill myself, educate myself, and again open up an opportunity, which I definitely see this as an amateur trader, an opportunity for growth, both on a developmental perspective, but also on a financial perspective. So it's been challenging, to say the least, understanding the markets, understanding how you potentially hedge certain, shares. But if you're not constantly engaging with it every day, there has been a day or two I've missed out. And because of missing out, it's made me lose a little bit of money.
We've got to move into the inevitable question, and it came up yesterday at supper, family dinner, and somebody said, where is the World Cup this year? Of course, it's a World Cup year, and you're never going to be able to come and talk to us on this show without also telling us what you think about the World Cup, how you're feeling about it, where we're headed, and how it makes you reflect on your own rugby career. I mean, you're going to be in France, right? You're going to be there.
Yeah. I'm going to be there. Yes, I was going to say, for those that don't know, it is happening in France in September and October this year. I think the final is on the 28th or the 29th. I think it's going to be, in my opinion, probably one of the most competitive Rugby World Cups we've ever seen. Gareth, you've got France, who just absolutely pulverized England on the weekend, 53-10, a record loss, for England at Twickenham, the home of rugby. So the French bouncing back to their number 2 status and probably firm favourites now, given that resounding result. Ireland looking extremely comfortable going on to a Grand Slam, after beating Scotland yesterday, and in the opportunity to cement their place as the number 1 team in the world. I'd say anyone writing New Zealand off would do so at their peril. because you never know for the All Blacks, particularly at World Cups. But for me, I think South Africa has an incredible opportunity to go to France and really be in a position to defend the World Cup that they won back in 2019. I know they created history by losing a game and then becoming the first team to actually win the World Cup by absolutely demolishing England in that final. But unfortunately, of those top 4 teams, England, South Africa, Ireland, and France, only 2 qualify for a semi-final, just because of how the pool draw was done. So I cannot wait to get there. Obviously, there's a bit of a romantic relationship for me with France, having been based there 5 years. Being able to get back into the croissant eating, which is really from croissant and cheese, and maybe go to the mid cellar at some point. But I think it's going to be brilliant. France were an incredible host when we won it in 2007, and I cannot think that this one's going to be any different. So if you're not supporting the Springboks, you're going to be regretting it, because I honestly believe that Sia and the boys have got an incredible opportunity to go out there and do our country proud again.
Bryan, it's always good to see you, and thank you for joining us this morning. It's not so much a market update, which is what we do the rest of the time with markets.com, but it's great to see you and to hear about how you're associated with this, kind of, explore and describe some of the things that you're learning while you're on markets.com, so that the rest of us can learn alongside you. I love it. Thanks very much, man.
Cheers, guys. Cheers, everybody. Have a good week. Go well.
You too. Cheers. Bryan Habana, everybody. And markets.com. You can find on the internet. Where do you think markets.com is going to be? You can also find them on social media. They're at markets.com SA on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and on YouTube. Go and check them out today. And who knows, you may end up investing in something that could turn what is just a small little bit of savings into your next big thing. You never know, right, Leigh-Ann? Never know.
Yeah, exactly. And if you were taught it a little bit earlier, at least before adulthood, then you'd be in a better place.
So I love ending on a high, and for some people, this is probably one of the best stories that they'll hear all day. There was a couple that had such wild sex at a hotel that they ended up in court and got a huge fine, but it was probably worth it, right?
Well, I mean, it made me scratch my head at first, because I thought, how wild does the sex have to be that you are fined? Anyway, it turns out that
pretty wild.
This couple, the story just gets worse and worse. Okay, so they were fined £500 each after they had such wild sex that they kept fellow hotel guests awake. Okay, their names are Jamie Boltby and Kaylee Hursthouse. And they checked into the hotel.
I know Kaylee Hursthouse. I know her. She's wild as hell.
They checked into a hotel in Derbyshire on Valentine's Day. Yeah. And police were actually called in the early hours of the morning because of the noise that was going on. And the police were given a key card to let themselves into the room. They opened the door. There was damage to the bathroom door.
Wow.
The female in this partnership was extremely intoxicated, unsteady on her feet. The guy was just lying in bed like a prince, like a king. She had a big bruise on her head, and I mean, obviously, you don't get a bruise pretty much immediately. So they asked her what had happened with that. So she said, no, she got it from headbutting someone a few days ago. Out of anger due to losing a child. So the story, it gets pretty
more
crazy.
It's a lot darker. This is a lot darker than I thought it would be.
Yeah, absolutely. So the hotel says that they caused £1,000 in damages. They also had to pay £250 in refunds to guests in three other rooms that were disturbed by their sex. And then, as it turns out, the dude in the relationship has 33 convictions for 65 offenses.
These are rough people, and this is. I thought this would be a fun story, but it's turned out to be very, very dark and disturbing.
These people, I mean, honestly, this is the least of their worries. This is the least of their worries. They are absolutely crazy.
And they completely ruined this hotel room.
Yeah, completely.
Jesus.
His girlfriend saw that her partner was looking a bit depressed, so thought, let me take him away for a romantic night. But then they just fucked it up, basically.
Fucked it up is the
terrible.
only terminology we could use.
But,
All right.
but
Well,
if you do want to end on a high, like a literal high, there's quite a stir at the moment from, I think it's either a movie or a series called Cocaine Bear.
it's a movie. I haven't seen it yet, but everyone is very excited about Cocaine Bear. Yeah.
It's about that bear that was found dead near a bag and millions of dollars of cocaine as well.
Right.
Well, now there's a cocaine cat which has been discovered as well, and this cat escaped from their owner and was found in a tree. And did you know that it's a serval cat, right? So an African serval
Okay,
cat.
so it's a wild. So this is not like a domestic cat.
No.
Okay.
So did you know that it's actually so common for these exotic pets to have some kind of illegal substance within their systems, that they do drug test immediately at the vets as they get them. There was once a meth monkey. So not only a cocaine bear or a cocaine cat.
Meth monkey. I love that. Now that's another great movie they're going to make soon. I mean, I could see it happening. Slippery
Anyway,
Pickle
so
says, "Cocaine Bear, shut up and take my money."
So cocaine cat is all good and well and will be living in the Cincinnati Zoo after being captured. But yeah, if you find an exotic pet in the US, it will be tested first for illegal drugs.
How did they know that this thing was because it was stuck up in a tree? They assumed like there was something weird going on, because it's also not indigenous to America. Obviously, these are African wild cats.
Yeah, and they also picked up. Her name is Amory, the serval cat.
Yep.
She had also broken her leg and had become agitated when being rescued. But yeah, cocaine cat lives on. Tell the tale.
Please do not give your pets drugs. Okay.
I think it's because if you think about it, the people who have these animals live this big luxury lifestyle. They've got them kind of wandering around the house, and maybe they've got all this cocaine lying out on tables and things. I don't know.
Oh,
beats
my God.
me.
Slippery Pickle says, "I'm holding thumbs for PCP Gorilla." Okay, there we go. It's getting very exciting.
Very
All right,
good.
everybody. Have a happy Monday. We will see you tomorrow at 6 a.m. bright and early. Cheers. Be good. Bye-bye.